So if you can just give me 1 second. All right, we're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. Um, Hello, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 19th, and here is our coronavirus update. Let me just get this because it's all crooked. Um, we've continued seeing some of these cases over here in Europe. We're seeing, unfortunately, more casualties here in Spain. We're seeing the numbers continue to rise, but this is expected, despite the measures that have been taken. Because since what we explained yesterday is there is a 2 week incubation period. There is up to 2 weeks of incubation period. So you can expect pretty much the same over there in the US and Mexico and the rest of Latin America as new cases start appearing. Because what happens is that all these people who are now getting the symptoms, they've probably been infecting and spreading the disease for the last 2 weeks. So a lot of other people have already got it. They've already got the virus, but they still don't have any symptoms, right? So our whole objective with these campaigns is to try and slow the spread, slow the transmission as much as possible. It will get to a point where most of us will have had the virus, we will have had developed immunity, just like it happens with so many other conditions, just like chicken pox and different herpes viruses and all these different things that we normally are exposed to, but we develop immunity. Now, the problem that we're currently facing is that because it is a new virus, a new strain that the humanity hasn't really been exposed to before, what the different health institutions around the world are concerned is that if we all develop symptoms and important symptoms at the same time, that can collapse an entire health system. So it's very, very important to stay home, try to avoid contact, take this seriously. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, just a couple of days ago, here in Spain, people were still laughing about it, and schools started closing down, but people would still be going out, they would still be packing up the bars, they would still doing all these sporting events. And I see the same thing happening right now with friends and family in Mexico, with friends and family in the US, and pretty much all over the world. So really take it seriously, just stay home. It really doesn't take much of an effort. Try to work from home as much as possible, try to go out only when you need to. Now, yesterday we spoke a little bit about this, but I do want to emphasize what happens if someone in your home has been exposed to somebody else who has already been tested positive. I'm getting a lot of questions. Specifically yesterday, somebody asked me and said, like, listen, you know what, we've just found out that somebody that my children were exposed to, now they tested positive. What should we do? How should we handle this whole situation? Well, you need to assume that you have been exposed to the virus as well. Okay, even if you don't have the symptoms, you need to assume that. And the reason I say you need to assume that is because if you assume that you're exposed and you're aware that you might be transmitting this virus everywhere, then you're going to stay home and you're going to be avoiding crowds even if you don't have the symptoms. That's why it's so important to not go do not make these decisions based on whether you have symptoms or not. A lot of people don't have symptoms, but they're already have the virus and they're already spreading it. So be very mindful about this. Second thing, if you're at home and any family member is already having symptoms or they are at risk, they've recently traveled to one of these countries, they've been recently exposed to somebody who tested positive, stay home, try to stay isolated from the rest of the people at home. Try to designate one bathroom for those people who are at risk. Try to leave their eating utensils separate. Be extra careful with cleaning and with disinfecting and all these different surfaces. Everything that we touch every day should be disinfected. So your computer screen, your laptop, your mouse, your keyboard, all these things where you're at need to be disinfected. Your mobile phone, especially if you're talking or if you're doing any of these lives like I'm doing right now. When we speak, there's little droplets of saliva that are constantly being spit out, and these will land in these mobile devices, and then our children will want to play with it. They'll grab it, they'll put it in their face, or they'll touch it and then they'll touch their face. So be mindful about these things, just extreme precautions. Make sure you're wearing a mask whenever you're at home. Try to keep that distance at least 3 feet, at the very least 3 feet from the rest of your family members, which is about 1 meter. And that's pretty much it. Be extra careful. Sheets and sheets, bedding, towels, all those things. Try to wash them and change them more often than normal. And if one person is suspected to have been in contact with somebody who tested positive or suspected of having the virus, even if they don't have symptoms, it's better to just wash all those things separately, right? So just be very mindful of these things. Everyone else in the family, if you've been commingling with this one person, just assume that you already have the virus, and let's just hope that you don't develop symptoms. Now, there's been a new development, and the World Health Organization is now recommending to not take ibuprofen or Tylenol or any of these medications for a fever and body aches right now before you talk to your doctor. There is a suspicion that some of these anti-inflammatory drugs might actually while they could mitigate the symptoms, they actually allow or they believe that they allow the virus to spread a little bit faster. So and to reproduce faster and to make it harder for your body to actually fight it off. So first things first, remember, don't go to the hospital unless you have respiratory distress or you have a very high fever. And second, if you do have some other symptoms, before you self-medicate or before you go to your doctor's office, make sure you call them. Try to get one of your doctors, try to get a doctor who's doing telemedicine. As I said yesterday, a lot of bills are being expedited so that telemedicine can start happening a lot sooner. So if you have access to any of that, go for it and take advantage of those things. And if not, just call your doctor's offices before you drive down there. You'll probably be put in with a triage nurse or with a nurse practitioner or somebody else at the office who can walk you through and find out your specific symptoms. Cross reference with your medical history and give you appropriate recommendations. Okay, so remember, don't self medicate. Don't go out. Assume that you are infected. That you have the virus. I think the word infected just raises a lot of worries. It's technically correct, but just assume that you have the virus and that you're spreading it, even if you don't have the symptoms. Avoid obviously gyms. Avoid going out. Avoid all sorts of things. If you live in an area where you can just open your door and go out for a walk, and not be in contact with anyone and not be touching surfaces, no playgrounds, nothing like that, and you can still do that. Take advantage of it, get some sunlight, get some fresh air. If you have a garden, do that as well. If you have a patio, spend some time outdoors. The other thing that you need to do, make sure that if you suspect somebody in your home might have this, make sure that all the rooms are well ventilated as well. Open up a window at least twice a day and let some fresh air come in and clean it up. Natural light, try to avoid as much artificial light as possible. It's hard right now because we're indoors so long, but try to do that. I think that's it for today. If you have any more questions, make sure to send them to me wherever you're watching this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, you should know that I am mostly active on LinkedIn throughout the day. Facebook and Instagram, I really don't log in too often. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. So if you want to ask a question, just connect with me right there that you're seeing the little QR code that'll send you to my profile. You can connect with me right there. Send us your questions or leave them below. I'll make sure to double check those and I'll keep you all posted. All right, stay safe, stay home, and make sure to call your doctor if you have any questions or indeed if they're not super urgent, just send them our way.